a guest today. Look, we starting off the new year strong, okay? So for 2023, I feel like last year I gave y'all a good amount of like vlogs, right? Because I was on the move and I just wanted to show y'all what I was doing. But I really want to get back to my roots. I want to bring in more people who are in my field. I want to bring in people who aren't in my field. I want to expose you all to just different folks who have skills, and we talking about a lot of just different stuff this year. I don't want it to get boring. I don't want it to be the same old 5 relationship topics that people regurgitate constantly. I don't want to do that. I'm not doing that. I'm giving y'all some new shit. Keeping it a buck with B turns 4 this month. All right, so thank you to everybody who continues to watch my stuff, who subscribes, who checks in with me. I really appreciate y'all, and I look forward to giving y'all some good content. So today we have Mr. Bryan Haggard in the building, and we are just going to be talking about a few different things. He is a therapist, all right? So we already, I have a video with another male therapist, and Saeed's story was really interesting, but I've been connecting with Bryan on Instagram, and I feel like he has really unique perspectives, and I just want to pick his brain about some of this mental health stuff, some of the things that he sees in his work. Definitely want to get into a little bit of the gender war stuff that we see a lot of the times, just because, I don't know, I feel like sometimes men give me a hard time. It could be in my couples work, or it could be online where it's like, I'm pretty objective. Like when it comes down to it, sometimes right is right, is wrong. And men will be like, you're biased, right? Because you're a woman. And so sometimes I like to seek that outside male opinion that is also professional and knowledgeable and gonna tell it like it is. So one thing that I feel like, what you gotta say? No, you already started. What you gotta say?
Please making me think about your stories. Like I think I don't take offense to your stories because it's like I see the point that you be like,
and the shoe don't fit.
Yeah, and the shoe don't fit. But for people who are haven't taken into accountability from like their brothers, their cousins, the other men in their life, or like they could feel targeted because nowadays it's like men. Two things. You both biased. You biased because you're a woman and you are saying your perspective from your point of view, in which you have experiences with those men or men in general, and then they biased because they're not used to a woman just having those opinions about relationships or about like stuff, so they're just not used to it, so it makes them uncomfortable. So they're like, "What and now and then they get those target words like she is what do they say to women? That she's aggressive, and she I bet she ain't got no man.
She ain't got no man. She gonna die alone.
Yeah, she not feminine enough. Ooh, I have clients that literally will talk about women in their life and be like, the way that she speaks disgusts me, and I be like, what do you mean? And they be like, she's just masculine. Like, so it's like sometimes.
And I'm sure you're seeing so much more of that now because it's just become such a big. We gonna jump right in. That's been a big thing. This whole masculine, feminine thing has just taken over to the point where now I feel like now that women are actually saying like they want to tap into their femininity, they want to be soft, they don't want to like walk around in the world and have like this guard and this shield on. Now that they're being more vocal about that, then you have the men who are kind of taking it and being like, y'all been masculine. Some men, absolutely. Check me on my purpose. Y'all been masculine. And it's like y'all wasn't really calling women masculine like that up until women started saying that they wanted to be more feminine.
I think the reason why men are calling women masculine now, because women, especially black women in particular, they throw shots at men and their masculinity all the time. So it's like
what it means to be a man.
Yeah, right. So they were like, and this, even though it'd be funny, like especially in like heterosexual Instagram, is a very different world. So you see, men can't even we can't fucking laugh. We can't
without some baby, and I hate that because it perpetuates this thing that we really need to get away from, which is giving men the space to just be.
especially black, not even
black
just,
men. No, even black men.
But black men in particular.
Yeah.
When we laugh and we smile and we having our good life, people are like, he too sassy for me. So the fact that it's targeted, it's on both perspectives. But I hate to talk about slavery, but that's just what it is. I say this all the time. I like, if somebody talk about masculinity and femininity and they don't know they don't read, I just would blankly, completely like scratch them out of the conversation. Because masculinity and femininity has been defined by us. And if you perpetuate it, if you make an opinion about a black woman online, to me, you sometimes uphold white supremacy, you don't even know it. So they be like, women should do this and women should do that. That's exactly what white men do to white women. And it's still rooted in like racism and supremacy and patriarchy. And they don't be getting that. So it's like, I'm not offended by your opinions because I'm like, I agree. And I tell my clients in my consult, especially men, I'm the type of therapist that believe in the equity and inclusion. So if you come here and you say something about your wife and I'm like, bro, what? Like,
you
know what I mean?
Check you on that.
Literally last week I had a client, he was like, man, the way, literally in these words, the way she said that disgusted me. And I was like, what do you mean? And I was wanting him to just like speak on the verbiage because he wasn't used to a woman. And then I had a friend teach me about tone policing. Sometimes it's even myself, like I had to learn that the way women speak to me in certain instances, like regardless of what she said or how she said it, it's the fact that she's saying it to me is perceived a certain way. So sometimes men don't even realize, like she could say the same shit, but if a man said that, you wouldn't even perceive it that way.
Blink.
And,
and that has been a huge issue throughout my life, in a few different spaces. Like, not only have I grown up, and I'll take my accountability for it. I'll say it's something that I've continued to work on because I don't want to offend or disrespect people, right? It's come from my mother, who was like, it may not be my tone towards her, but it may be my tone towards somebody else that she overhears. And she's like, no, it was your tone. You need to watch that. Okay. And then I enter into certain professional spaces, right? At a job or whatever. And, I've worked in a lot of white spaces. And then it's a tone thing then too. Yeah. A tone thing to the point where like, I've had to have my white coworkers that I'm cool with tell somebody, like, ask them to go say this to a client or a group of clients, because if I say it, they're gonna perceive it wrong. I'm gonna be a bitch. I'm gonna be aggressive. I'm gonna be rude.
But what's so interesting that you say that, like, people don't realize that's still political patriarchy. Like, because political patriarchy is gender roles, saying what men and women shouldn't do. So the fact is like, if your mama like, Brittany, be a good girl. Like, don't be opinionated. That's patriarchy. Because we only look at it from a male perspective. But when you are putting anybody in a box and perceiving them in a way in which it doesn't give them wholeness, right? That's patriarchy.
And I will say, I think from my mom, it's always been a respect of my elders thing. Because usually when she makes that comment, it's because I'm talking to my grandma, or I'm talking to another adult that's older than me, right? And I'm just, and even once I started getting real grown, I'm like, girl, I'm grown. Like, I'm gonna say what I need to say, okay? I'm trying to keep it cute, but at the end of the day, like, but I'm glad that you brought that up, just because I feel like black women, we get so much about this tone shit, and I get so tired of that. Like,
the two things could be true. Some of it is like you, and then some of it is them. Because like I got clients. I got a client that's biracial, and he told me, what did he say? He was like, you talk aggressive, and I'm like, I'm not aggressive. Like, I was like, some people can be offended by your assertiveness. Yes, exactly. Because just being a black person, being articulate, being intelligent, that throws them off. They'd be like, oh shit, like I've never experienced a person like you. And then when you don't wither, I tell clients, don't wither. You know how you set a boundary with your mama, and you like, Mom, no, this is so-and-so. I'm about to let her know. Yeah.
I was respectful, and I just said what I said.
And that throws people off. And then they will say whatever it is because it's the anxiety of the fact that, oh shit, you confident, you got boundaries, you got, and that's in any space. That's in black spaces, the hood, any environment. If you black and you're articulate and you're intelligent, that would just rub people the wrong way. But it is true for myself too. I have to realize for certain clients, or even in my field, that I'm like, my tone can come across a way that I'm like, wait, how can I?
Something to be aware of. But because you don't, again, like at the root of it, sometimes you don't want to offend people. You don't want to seem disrespectful. But it's also like, it's been times where I know, like, I said that fine. That's how however they heard it. I'm not going to make a spectacle, or I'm not going to excuse myself because I know I was intentional with the way I said that to you, especially if it's something I know that could go over, maybe sensitive or whatever. So I'm approaching it with me being sensitive to that. And then if I know that I did that, and then you still taking it as a tone issue, baby, that's between you and your ears.
Wait, but sometimes it's not. I hate that it's not what you said, it's how you said it, thingy.
Right.
But sometimes it's context and pitch. Mm-hmm. So there's times when I've learned, because I have a deep voice, I have a voice that resonates. Yeah. So it's like I speak with compassion, and somebody can take that
passion, exactly.
Anger. And it's so hard. Amanda, what's her name? Amanda Seals said it online. She said, the way me being a black woman, my passion comes off as fiery. And that's where aggressive comes from. And I've always been, even somebody, like, I have to watch my levels in which I speak, because when I get passionate, I get excited, I get loud, right? Yeah. And it was one of the episodes we just did with Tonight's Conversations. We were talking about sex, and obviously sex is a fun topic to talk about. Everybody got their piece and their story and stuff, kiki and shit. And it was a point where I even noticed, and I'm like, "Oh, bitch, you loud! Like your mic on." But that's
like,
excitement,
and it was excitement, right? Yeah. But I went to the comments, and somebody was like, "Why is she so loud?" And I'm like, I'm sorry. I just get a little excited, right.
But it's also a cultural thing. Yeah. Like I tell my mom and my sisters I laugh loud. I'm like one of them. If I laugh, I'm gonna make other motherfuckers laugh. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we try to take, like, sex is a fun topic, right? Right. So you could be loud. You could be like, oh damn, she loud. You kicking, you doing you. But when you go to a serious conversation, right, people try to use that context in the same way, like, damn, you upset? No, right. I'm not upset. Yeah. We're talking about something serious. You know what I mean? So it's like, I get the same thing.
Yeah. And I've had to not let that bother me. Like, even from when I started early on YouTube and like putting clips on Instagram, I used to get a lot of people in my, I used to get, I'm not going to say a lot, but a few people in my DMs like, why you sound so mad? Like, why you sound, and it's like, I'm speaking with emphasis so you motherfuckers can feel me. So y'all can feel me. Okay?
I love your videos, especially when you're trying to teach something or explain something. I get it. And the other day when we was talking about, like, I don't hear something and literally negate the total opposite. And that's what most people do now. It's like this access to so much information. They be like,
they look for ways to kind of poke holes in what you're saying. It's like, did you even receive what I said?
Yes. So like now it's like, I think you're gonna always get it. You're gonna always get those people that's gonna be like, yo, Brittany, what you trying to say? Like, why are you saying it like that? Because they're not ready to hear it. And that's okay.
Yeah, and that's okay. And I feel like over time, knowing that I am entering into certain spaces where I want to be seen as a professional, but also as a real ass person, as a relatable ass person, like I found a balance of being able to let my authentic self shine through, but also allow myself to like know, like you said, the context, the space that I'm in, and being a professional and knowing like, okay, I can do this here in this space, but in this space, I mean, I'll be able to, I ain't gonna go as crazy in that way, exactly. And I think that's all something that we learn, but
yeah, but I think being black is speaking a language of blackness in spaces. Like, I still speak a certain way even with black clients. Like, there are times I'm like, oh, I'm about to get black, but there's also times when I'm just like being like myself, and like, this is myself, and this is how I speak.
Exactly.
But you gotta, like you said, you gotta figure out like, oh shit, I gotta hold this back on this side, or hold it, but because because my facial expressions kill me.
Yeah,
I'll be like,
it.
what?
Like, sometimes what? I'll be glad like if I do sessions over the phone because I'm like, you would not want to see my face
especially
right
when it be like money issues or like they partners doing them dirty. I'll be like, what? Like,
say that again? Yeah. Like, what you say? No,
like,
that's real. And I do feel like a part of why I didn't want to work in traditional mental health spaces, like the part it was to free myself of some of that, like that to not be in that box anymore. I got tired of being in that box. Like, I need to speak this way or act this way, or I can't come to work and just do my damn job or be myself because y'all always looking for something to fuck with me about. And
but if you're a leader, you're gonna always cause a problem and things. So that's just really what it is. Like, I had a lot of conflict at jobs in my life too because of the fact that I thought differently about things. I'd be like, what? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it would be, it's people, I'm not well behaved. So it's like,
and we gonna get into that. But no, I relate on that because that's why I was like, in private practice, it's like if you don't like me, that's cool. We don't have to work together, right? Like we don't have to do this. There's so much autonomy that I was like, a person like me, I thought I wasn't gonna do private practice till I was like later on in my career. But after the last place that I left, I was like, I can't do what I need to do like this. I can't change lives like this. I can't make a difference like this. Like, I need to really be in a space where people are seeking me out for who I am. Because they know that I'm going to tell it to them like it is. Because they know I'm going to handle them with care. Because they know I know my shit. Like, that's the type of clientele I want to attract. And then if for whatever reason we get in this space or this room or this therapeutic alliance and it ain't working, we can separate, right? Like, it doesn't have to be, that's the thing about, again, working in certain mental health spaces.
Especially
where it's white spaces treatment like, and you can't piss the client off and shit like that because that's the money, right? Like, and it's somebody over you telling you, you can't piss them off. You can't offend. You know what I mean? Yeah. You gotta go. You gotta kiss butt. I'm not. I said I'm free me. Free me. Like, see, I love the fact that like my clients want to be my clients just because of who I am at the end of the day. Like, that is so freeing, and I wish that on everybody.
Especially if you're a black mental health professional, I encourage you to go work for a black practice or go into private practice for yourself. It's such a freeing experience. I get it though. I left every job that I
these shackles off of me.
Every job I had in California, I quit dealing with the racism. I was always in leadership positions, and it was so much microaggression. It was ridiculous. Yeah. And I've never experienced that because in Chicago it's even though there's diversity.
I worked here and I did.
It's diversity here, but it's a white black thing. Mm-hmm. In California, it was a white Asian, white Latino, white. Like racism was like magnified, but it was like very implicit. Yeah. So it'd be like it was very microaggressive. Here, white people like, oh, Bryan, can we talk to you? And we would have our discussion. But that's my issue too, that I can handle conflict. I'm one of the people where if we got an issue, I could talk about it.
Let's talk about
it. Yeah. But in nowadays, for younger people that are watching this in your career, nowadays, you cannot approach a coworker about a conflict now. Mm. Now they want you to have a mediator. Like they want, like back in the day, I'm only 31, but this is some 10 years ago in my early 20s. Like we could literally go like, Brittany, could we talk? Yeah. But now it's like you're creating a hostile environment. Mm. So they want you to do it with a supervisor. They want you to do it with a third party present. And back then, we didn't do that. Now it's like, oh shit. So like, in LA, I was like third. Like, what do you mean third party? Like, if we have an issue, we talked about it. We moved on and boo boo boo. But I was like,
they want things documented.
Yeah, it was like making me the aggressor, and I wasn't the aggressor. I was not passive aggressive. Mm-hmm. If you say something to me that's out of line, I checked it and then we moved on. Right. So yeah. But I know you want to get into your questions. You keep grabbing your phone.
Oh, no. And some of it, like, we've already touched on. So, I just kind of laid out what my journey was like as far as, like, what kind of pushed me into private practice. But also, I like to call myself a non-traditional therapist, right? Because I feel like I don't I mean, I talk like, whatever we were taught was the image of a therapist when we were back in grad school or whatever. Like, I feel like I don't look like that. I don't talk like that. I don't necessarily do I have therapeutic modalities? Of course, right? Because I'm still a professional at the end of the day. But I also feel like I don't always, I don't fit in that box. And I know that I don't subscribe to what they think that's supposed to be. And I feel like you don't either. So I was just curious, like, what's your journey into saying I'm not gonna do this shit the way that other people do it. What that look like for you as a therapist?
I think mine started back even in grad school. I was the only black male in my classes, and they would be like, say they try to teach us CBT or some theory or some. So I didn't have all the language that I have now to describe those to understand those experiences back then. But I would be like, what? Like, it would be like case studies, and it was so racist, and it would be like, I can't think of an example. Say we were learning systems theory or CBT or something, and we'll get a white, traditional family, and we had to. Then I'd be like, yo, and I would raise my hand and be like, yo, I don't relate to this. It was just something that I had a hard time in grad school with, not with the classwork, but the context of the classwork. Yeah. Because it was yo, what they were teaching me, I just disagreed with. And this is before, DEI wasn't a thing. That's what's so interesting about this country, how every couple of years we have very trendy words.
Yeah. Tell them what DEI is.
DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion. Okay. But when I was in college, it was just about diversity. Right. It was never about equity, or it never was about inclusion. They didn't care. They wanted a black person, an Asian person, most likely a woman, and then they were like, great, we got diversity. Now, they didn't care about if you had the resources, and they definitely didn't care about any people feeling included, like people with, different gender expressions or disabled people. They didn't care. So now we have all this stuff that we have to navigate. So I remember even in my first couple of jobs, I just was I disagreed with things. I didn't like the fact that the black people had the worst diagnosis. I didn't like the fact that black people or people who didn't speak English was on medications that they didn't know why they was on the medication. Right. So I don't even speak Spanish, and I'm gonna have to speak for my clients and be like, wait, what? So I worked in, predominantly white nonprofits, and I hated it. I hated the way that people like me looked. I hated people like me were treated. I hated the way that we would fall through the cracks. Yeah. So if you were getting them vouchers or Section 8 vouchers or stuff, the black clients was last and stuff. So I just was yo, I didn't like it. So even now, so when I moved back to Chicago, when I got into private practice, I was intentional about working for a black private practice, and it's the same way. She's down to earth, amazing. I shadowed her, and then I was ready to go make my own money. So I decided to go do my own practice. Yeah. And I like the freedom. I like the flexibility. I am human and humorous, so I think that I'll be upfront. I think that black people in particular I feel like I have to always educate them about what therapy is and what it looks like. And even now, I told a client today, he was because I had a consult, I didn't take his insurance. I'm like, yo, if y'all are watching this, go to therapy, and possibly if you find a therapist that don't take your insurance, go to them. Pay out of pocket. And I say pay out of pocket because if you could have a Bentley or a Range to pay $600 a month for a car, and I'm using these as very anecdotal examples, if you treat therapy or your care like a necessity, it don't feel like an expense.
Absolutely. Or an investment, right? Black people, especially, millennial blacks, we all about investments now and creating generational wealth. Create some generational healing while you're at it, okay? And you do that by sometimes needing to pay out of pocket for therapy. That's just what it is. I think that's very valid because, again, we don't want to continue to kind of, everybody's like, oh, it's so hard to find a black therapist. It's so
not.
Hard. And
we don't take our insurances. You know why we don't take our insurances? Not to cut you off. No, we don't take our insurance because they don't pay. One, they don't pay. We have businesses to run, and then we have to fight them to get the money, like literally. So if you come to me, then there's rules and regulations. You come to me and you just want to work on some communication and some anxiety issues or just some coping stuff. I have to give you a diagnosis that you probably won't fit for the diagnosis. Then I have to fight your insurance company for them to pay. So it will ruin our relationships because say we do about 7 sessions and I'm waiting for your insurance company to come pay me. So if you are looking for a good therapist, first, there are many Black therapists out there. There are many Black men therapists. There are many Black women therapists. There are queer therapists. There are sex therapists. There are EMDR therapists. There are so many Black therapists out there. The disconnect is y'all going through y'all damn insurance. Yeah. Stop going through insurance.
It comes down to, accessibility and people try to make that our fault, right? That's not our fault, right? That is the healthcare system's fault. Yeah. They make this shit very hard for you all. And they make it hard for us. It's not that we don't want to work with people, right? Like, this is our livelihood. We want to work with as many people. We want to be full, right? Like, it ain't no reason. This man has his own practice. You still got openings.
Yep.
He shouldn't have no openings. Like, everybody should be running, and you won't have them for long.
But you know what's so crazy? I get calls all the time. My people call all the time. The thing is they don't want to pay out of pocket.
Yeah.
And I don't take their insurance. Or I do take their insurance and then they co-pay. So like this, treat your medical insurance like you do your damn car insurance. Most of us have that $500 deductible, right?
Yeah.
If you know you want to go to therapy, if you know you want to work on yourself, don't have a high deductible.
Yeah.
Let them take a little bit more out of your personal, so you could be able to have access to more things. So people have a $3,000 deductible. That means you got to pay out of pocket by full rate until you get $3,000 worth, and then they'll pay. And that's damn near a year of therapy.
Exactly.
So look at those deductibles before you just select the plan. And also on the low keys of the low keys, because we Black and your audience is Black. If you don't want nobody in your business, don't go through your insurance. Because paying cash, your business is protected.
Right.
The insurance is a third party. They got to know your diagnosis. They don't know a lot of things, but they know the fact that if you running for office one day and you got therapy, like you got therapy before, they're like, oh, your shit is somebody's system. Yeah. And just pay out of pocket sometimes. And I know it's hard for people, but I feel like if you treat therapy as an investment and a necessity and not an expense, you'll pay for it.
Yeah.
Because the ones that I got some of my clients came from my last practice. A few of them, I don't take their insurance. They pay their rate. Yeah. And they pull up because they need it and they want it.
Yeah. Yeah. They are, and then I think a part of it is also like maintaining that. Like when I got fired, bro, I didn't think about nothing else but how am I gonna pay my therapist? Like that is what was. That's the person I see the most. I see you more than my OBGYN. I see you more than my primary care doctor.
A good therapist.
Like
good therapist.
I was with her at that point 4-5 years, bro. That's who I'm worried about getting paid. I don't care about none of this other stuff. So that was the first one. I'm like, what we gonna do? What I need to pay you?
But you could get a reduced rate.
And she was, again, because I was such a long-term client, thank God for Naomi Everett. Like, that lady let me pay her $40.
But and that's what the thing is too. I offer a sliding scale too.
A sliding
but
scale.
You gotta show up for your consultation. You gotta show up for your appointment.
You have to be, again, and if you want a therapist to be willing to work with you on that sliding scale shit, you have to be committed and consistent.
But I'm not giving you a sliding scale if you're a lawyer or an engineer. I'm just not.
No, and again, because sliding scales are based on income.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be based on income, right? Like, I was in a predicament where I had just lost my whole ass job. So, like, of course, I'd be like, yeah, 40 bones, cool. And I even got to a point where, like, I don't know if she would have changed that, but I said, I think maybe after my first year being of unemployment and getting into private practice, and I said, one of my goals next year is to budget to pay you more. Because, like, but just because you gave me that low ass rate, bro, no, I'm finna pay you. Like, I don't pay her a whole lot, but it's still like
it's pay. You showing that
I'm showing that, like, speaking of, I need to pay my therapist one. I had therapy.
The lowest I do is 60.
Yeah,
and it's based on, and it's younger people, like early 20-something year olds. Right. I do 60 for them, but most for like people 27, 25 and up, the lowest is 125. My rate is high because I'm in the business by myself.
By yourself,
and I'm let me tell you this, I'm worth it. Want a new job, want some inspiration, want to get out here and be courageous and take on, we talk. Like, if you want a different experience, I am worth that 185.
Absolutely. And you have to know that.
So.
You have to know that worth.
Very much so. But it's a cool experience. But you know what's so crazy? I was thinking about doing I don't know how to do that type of shit, but doing a reel about a day in the life as a therapist. Okay. Because like people don't realize this romanticized start a business shit is so interesting. This shit is hard.
It's hard.
It is hard.
And that is why, like, I work, like he said, he started off at a group practice. I work under somebody else. My Marcella, she's been in business. She's been doing this for over 10 years. And I started working with her part-time when I was still working at another full-time job. And of course, once I got fired, it was like, I'm ready to jump into this full-time. Like, who you got for me? Like, and the reason why I continue to stay with her, even though, because back then I wasn't fully licensed. I'm fully licensed now. I could be doing what Bryan's doing. However, you got to kind of know what you want to sign up for and what you don't. Private practice on the business side involving insurance was never something that I was interested in, right? Like, the idea of having to sit on the phone with insurance companies, going back and forth with them.
Well, I don't. I got a builder.
Which is nice, right? So Marcella does all of that, right? When we were in a space before the pandemic, she take care of that. I just show up. She even scheduled my people, like, for the most part. So for me, it was worth it because for people who don't know, when you work under somebody, there's a split, which is why most people, after they get licensed fully, they step out on their own. They don't have to split their money with nobody,
that's why
right?
I was tired of the split.
Right. So if the insurance or if the pay is $150 a session, I get 60% of that. Marcella gets 40% of that for taking care of the business.
And that 40% covers a lot of the business costs. So, like, if you, I know this off topic, but if you decided to start a business, like, there are overhead costs. Like a motherfucker. Like a motherfucker. I got my own regular bills. Now I got about at least $600, $700, $800 a month in business bills. Like, it's a whole different. Right.
It's a different. So you kind of gotta, again, you have to kind of know, like, what is it worth it for you? Is it not? Like, for me, I know I like to do other things. So, like, having to manage all of that on my own was never. It's not. I'm not gonna say it's never gonna be appealing. It's not appealing to me at this point in my career. And I feel like if I was, like, let's say later on, I may be one of them, because once I'm self-pay only, most of that kind of goes away. Like, I just kind of.
But then now it's the taxes.
Right.
That's what people don't get. The taxes.
And taxes in doing this is just that's a whole nother ballgame.
Too,
we don't even want to talk about that. Especially because I'm trying to buy property, so I couldn't cut my income because that's my proof of what I make.
Yeah. So you got a W-2 or you a contract?
I'm a contract. So discipline, right? Every time you get paid, setting money aside. That was another thing that I was like, well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. You do it. You figure it out in that way. But yeah, it's a lot. So again, if you thinking about it, like, or if you are like in school to be a counselor or a therapist or whatever, these are just like different lanes you can go down. And then you make the decision that you feel like is best for you based on what you want to step into. But being a business owner and entrepreneur shit, it ain't all it's cracked up to be. We even talk about like medical insurance. Like, I'm still over here bragging on this Medicaid. I'm gonna keep bragging until they realize that
you can get it. I low-key need to figure out, I ain't got no medical insurance. I need to do what I need to do for that.
I mean, the beauty is like,
that shit expensive though.
It is. And like, I think I lucked up because I got in on the ground floor when I was technically unemployed, right? Like, I was getting unemployment. So, food stamps, Medicaid, I slid right on in there. And then the pandemic happened and they really was like giving niggas shit. So it's like, I'm gonna ride this out. And
how long is it gonna be good for?
What? In my insurance?
Yeah.
Until they realize I make more than $30,000 a year. So until then, baby, we gonna keep it real cute.
Niggas.
Listen, these benefits, somebody gotta use them. I still think that's stupid anyway. Like, why is there an income cap? If I ain't got no insurance, I ain't got no insurance. Why I can't use what the government provides? That's dumb.
Yeah, I definitely think it's dumb. But I don't know. I wonder.
And that's the nice part about, like, again, when you're not getting no pay stubs, can't nobody really track your income like that. So you need
because it's just deposited, right?
So go ahead and apply. Get you some county care. Get you some county care. Okay.
Damn. I didn't even think of that. But I don't know. I never knew that you could get, like, could you get self-employment Medicaid?
No, they don't have that. Sorry.
Oh.
It really is just the playing of the system.
Are you gonna get into the gender wars?
I am. Because we'll be on time.
We only had 38 minutes.
Only? I mean, we've been talking for a minute.
Oh, that is a long time though.
A little bit. So I do have something else that it kind of goes together. So a while ago, I had somebody reach out to me. This guy she was talking to was hosting these all male kind of therapeutic sessions. Now the person who was leading it, he has no background in mental health or whatever. The girl who reached out to me, she was like, look, that's my dude, he's trying to do this, but he's not going about it the way I feel like he should, meaning like he need to make sure there's some professionals in the room because you are not one, right? But you want to help facilitate this conversation. So I reached out to a few of she reached out to me to know that I could put some people in the room. So I reached out to a few of my colleagues, one of them being Bryan. I'm like, look, this guy, he's starting to host these little communal things for men. I want you to go. Let me know how it is, because I'm nosy. I want to know what y'all in there talking about and how it, just pretty much, I want somebody in there who's going to help move the conversation forward. So I mentioned that, and then I'm also going to tie that in with another point I wanted us to discuss, which is how you've mentioned how important it is for you to create spaces and conversations that are inclusive to queer people.
Yes.
And that was one of the things I remember you mentioning to me about your first experience and going to that group session, which was that, like,
yes, absolutely.
Did you feel like you spoke to that, or that it was being left out of the conversation? Like, speak to that.
I think since we live in a very heteronormative world, that even spaces for women or men, that we forget that everybody isn't heterosexual. Yeah. So we have these like even now and then when we hear people, black people in particular, telling you that they prefer this particular pronoun, it throws people off. There are feminine presenting women that prefer they. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's kind of, and people can be annoyed about it, but if you don't understand that the people next to you is experiencing those things, then you are part of the issue too. When you are in spaces and you just assume that someone is not queer, or they make so. The group was dope as hell. Okay. It was just it was dope. It was just that sometimes we have these hyper masculine or hyper feminine or hyper. It's like trying to teach men or talk to men about these different experiences. They'll have things go very far left or very far right, and sometimes it can be very stereotypical. And then everybody don't meet that mark. Like everybody ain't a street nigga. Everybody ain't this. Like everybody ain't that. So I was just like, yo, you got to keep in mind that some people in this room are trans. Some people in this room are queer. Some people in this room ain't gangbangers. Or something. You know what I mean? It was just like they would have their opinions about things. Or even now, I remember a guy kind of irked me in the room where he was just like, he was referencing to like, Africa, Israelites, and like it was upholding patriarchy.
I'm about to say, it's giving Hotep.
There was like patriarchy, misogyny, and like niggas could get upset that these words or terms. But you get upset because you don't understand it. Mm-hmm. And you don't understand how you perpetuate it, even myself included. Yeah. There's times where you like, oh shit, damn, it is women in the room, so how do I say this? Like, they be like, women, and then men, and then shit. You make these proclamations about groups of people that you don't even understand. Yeah. And when you talk to heterosexual black people, the best way to relate it to them is through race. That's the only way that they get it. And some don't get it that way too.
They feel like, no.
So now you'll be like, you'll hear things like this in a bar. Sometimes it could be barbershop talk. Yeah. And you be like, well, she ain't had the right dick. You're like, she don't like dick, bro. You got, you know what I mean? But they see that she's feminine presenting,
right.
And she say, don't call me. A woman say, don't call me she. And she said, I go by they, and I don't subscribe. I'm androgynous, or I'm this, or I'm that. Like they don't get it. And when you try to teach, like, I'm not saying that I have to teach that, but you got to make space for the fact that there are men in those exact same experiences, and it's so hard for people to. It's a lot of information. It's forever learning.
Yeah.
And it makes me think of too when we were in the rooms, and I'm like, some of these niggas in here, some of these niggas in here trans attracted. You know what I mean? And they don't want to talk about it. You know what I mean? So, but it's like, in order for you to make a space for men to talk about different levels of masculinity and femininity and enjoying themselves, we got to make space for every single thing. We can't pick and choose. Like, nigga, if you want to go get your goddamn finger, manicure, pedicure, make space for that. Make space for the fact that some of your homies are trans attracted. Some of y'all, you know what I mean?
Some of your homies like to get their booty ate.
Some of your homies like to get their booty ate, and that's not gay. If you think that is gay, if you think that's gay, you part of the problem. Right. So it's like, and you're the reason why niggas have to be so rigid or sneak around, or even women gotta sneak around because their friends are like, oh, strictly, dickly, and da-da-da. You like, bitch, I like to dibble and dabble. Like, I do what I do, and those are my experiences. But people, being that we live in a very heteronormative world, and then homophobia and misogyny and patriarchy is so deeply a lot of the issues. And the black community, when you say this, they don't get it. Sort of like when you see young men like, why she dressed like that? She want me to, she.
It's bad.
That's what I'm saying. I'm the type of man to be like, why you dressed like that? Why can't she dress like that?
So earlier today, Chicago Media Takeout posted about this young woman from the West Side who was shot in her head by her ex-boyfriend. I go in the comments, and you brought up the whole like sexual assault and how a lot of some men will look to dress to make justifications or excuses for it. And the reason I thought about this is because in those comments you have men who are essentially almost they'll probably say, if I was to confront them and be like, you blaming that woman, they probably like, no, I'm not.
You get it.
But you're sitting here saying you women need to pick better. You're sitting here saying that you women need to leave these pussy ass niggas alone. Like you women, y'all need to stop letting these niggas put their hands on you. Huh?
How? But how about this? But if you say you niggas need to tell your homeboy stop beating up his girlfriend, you know what I mean?
Then it's not your business, right?
Yes.
Then it's not your business.
Yep.
So the whole, and we were gonna talk about this, this whole who's less accountable, because that's the argument we see online all the time. There are men saying that women are never accountable, and then you have women who feel like men aren't accountable. And I feel like at the root of it, it's a collective issue of people just not wanting to own their role and their part in shit and violence and all of the terrible shit that can happen.
But the thing is, you people only pick and choose what those. That's why I'm saying I'm for all black people.
Yeah.
You can't pick and choose what you can't be like, I fuck with, people be like, I fuck with my homie. I know he like trans. I know he queer. People be like, I'm
they'll separate that.
Yeah, you can't separate it because
I got a homie that's gay, but you not finna.
You can't separate it because when you think about it too, even now that what you just said, you can't. Now I'm not going nowhere, and I know my niggas beating their girls up. I'm not with it. I'm gonna hold you accountable for it. And that's me. Yeah. But you can't be like, mind your business, and then be like, why she wearing that? Why she or even women do it too. Sometimes women uphold patriarchy, misogyny.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and we could talk about Megan and Tory. And I'm saying, I'm sorry to say it, but I'm saying literally, this woman said she got shot in the foot, right? And people are like, why all the evidence coming out now, niggas? Because it was a case. The fucking evidence were protected, niggas. Right. One. And now there is no doubt that the nigga did.
And then you still have people that are like,
this is a conspiracy. Bro, let me just say this. So the fact is, and then her sex life. This is how people don't understand how misogyny and patriarchy is upheld. The case is about you shooting her in the foot, and guess what? It sounds like he was drunk. played around, did whatever, and didn't mean it.
Right.
So I could say that I don't think he meant to harm her.
Yeah.
However, it harmed her.
Right.
So why?
It's just the refuting of the fact. That's the crazy part.
She's sleeping with him.
We could theorize all day long about how and why she got shot. But the fact is that
she got shot. But the thing is, people, imagine you go to court and your sexual experiences is in a court case and you were shot.
Yeah.
And when you niggas that's watching this, that's insane.
Yeah.
To see that you get shot. It's sort of like, and we can say the same thing with black men. Mm-hmm. And this is how, like, as a black man, I could say that, like, I believed her. She didn't call the police because she didn't probably want him to get...
Exactly.
That is true.
And that's still trying to protect another black person.
But you can't tell it to black brothers. They be so thrown off. But black women do be trying to protect us. Yeah. They do. Yeah. Same with, like, abusers not calling the police because
every time you get hit, right.
Because you got kids by this nigga. You don't want, in some cases...
You don't want him going to jail.
Exactly. But people don't talk, but we don't want to talk about this gender violence against black women. Right. Black women are dying every single day by the hands of black men and killed, shot. Yeah. And there was like, and then you could literally justify and say what happened. And there'll be stories about the content of the character of the woman that's dead. Yeah. Yeah. She cheated or the baby, it'd be like, what?
And then that's what was crazy about that comment section is like it was a guy in there who said something about like ball up Meg Thee Stallion, like all you Meg Thee Stallion supporters, and I just was like,
how is that even related?
It's something wrong.
The girl is dead. The girl you commented on the post of somebody that is dead. And you talking about Megan Thee Stallion. And that's what's so crazy that I wish black people realize that separation is rooted in white supremacy. Yeah. That's what they don't get, like, and not on some Dr. Umar type shit, but when we sit here having conversations about you not understanding how you showing up and how you questioning certain things, but people be thinking these trigger words are political, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. No, that's just words to you to understand the context of what you're doing and why you think that way. Right. Like,
and that's what I think is like the violence piece that is unfortunately, you know, we see it more from men being in the black community. I mean, we see it from black men, and I think that it's crazy that some black men don't understand this whole idea. You know, they scream this narrative that women are more emotional, men are more logical.
But they very emotional. We are very
These acts of violence are out of emotion. They're not off of logic. Like, because if they were built off of logic, you wouldn't have did it. Because you would have realized that there were consequences that came to that. That completely ruin your life. So that's not a logical choice. All of that is emotional.
And that's rage.
It's rage. Yeah. And so it was just so interesting to, like, again, we see this woman whose life was lost. We see people in these comments like, you know, this shit gotta stop. You know, protect black women. You know
how it stops. Having conversations like this. Yeah. Letting black women speak. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you. Yeah. Letting black women speak. Letting black women tell their stories. Mm-hmm. But also, I'm a therapist, and most of my clients are men, and they have atrocity of stories. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I can make space for men, and the fact that men can't talk about their experiences, the abuse they undergo with women. There are many, and I'm not trying to counter anything. I'm just saying that we hold, as people, until we dissect masculinity, femininity, and inclusiveness, inclusiveness on both sides, we could have more, we can understand accountability for both sides. Right. Like, I don't condone violence of any kind. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I also realize that, like, I don't create my mind don't create scenarios or justifications for the violence either. And that's what I think that they don't understand, that that's what they're doing. Right. You know what I mean? Because I see it. I got clients that's literally, their wives are ridiculous.
Yeah. And what's sad is, like, number one, we don't get a chance to have the dialogue the opposite way, or for the shoe to be on the other foot when it comes to women being violent against men. Number one,
because it's soft.
Men aren't talking about it. And I'd be curious to know, like, again, if it is discussed, or if it comes out, let's say a famous couple or whatever, and it comes out like, yeah, she be putting her hands on, or we could go with G Herbo and Ari, right? How there were rumors and things that were said about, like, how she be hitting him, right? Mm-hmm. You don't see men in the comments saying, well, why you not leaving the relationship, her? Why you still with her?
But that's what they do to women.
But with women, it's like, y'all need to leave. Why y'all letting these niggas put their hands? So,
you know what's so crazy? Battered woman syndrome can be also transferred to a man too. That's what people don't get too. Like, it's sort of like it makes me think about how rappers. You see the Instagram reels all the time, and a lot of them, even actors like Common, what's his name, Brianna Baby Daddy, they admit to being sexually assaulted, right? And it's just like a normal. You be like, you know, and niggas be in the comments like, yeah, I had sex with my neighbor and I was 12.
Yeah,
she was
right.
like, yo, that shit ain't normal. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying. Like, if we can't pick and choose about like what we should like hold people accountable on each side, and until we realize that they all matter, safety across the board for children and women and men on all fronts, we'll always have these problems because people will always be like that they could justify the actions and not like we gotta treat the extra fact that we don't have conversations to make people feel safe enough to disclose.
Yeah, and I feel like one thing I just want, which I hope my watchers already know, but if you don't, like when it comes to violence, is don't go towards the victim. Like if your mind says like the victim caused it, you already on the wrong side of the argument.
Right.
Like you. You need to be looking at the perpetrator. Like, regardless of what the details or the facts are, the violence happened, and we need to look at the person who committed that violence and hold that person accountable versus trying to pick apart what the victim did to land themselves in a situation where they were abused or harmed.
You know what it makes me think about when I talk to my clients about having respect for sex workers? They be thrown off. So like, I can respect the sex worker and I also can respect the child because I see everybody as equals.
Yes.
Like if you can, and a lot of men live so compartmentalized, that's why the violence is justifiable. You know what I mean? They like, she's respectable. She's respectable. Yeah. She isn't.
I think they see women as like a hierarchy of like levels of like.
No, life. And not just women. Like life. Like if you don't respect the garbage truck man, but you smile at the CEO and you shake the CEO, and women and men do it. That's what I'm saying. Like if you live a life very compartmentalized based on social systems, you will perpetuate the violence. You will perpetuate the things that happen. Like or even I have to tell clients that you could rape your wife. Yeah, and I'm sure they fucking throw their minds off. Like your wife can say no.
Right, she's not your property.
She's not your property. And they be like, but I don't, bro. She can say no to sex,
and they're so conditioned of again how they see
ownership
exactly
in the commodity of a woman's body,
that entitlement to it, and marriage being the ultimate act of like commitment and making you mine. Yeah,
but you can't. And what's crazy is you see it online all the time. You see people share like very possessive memes. You see videos of if your wife happy, life happy. What your wife said this, or you see these things that perpetuate, and people don't realize that like that subtle craziness, is the start of shootings and killings and you know what I mean? It's that subtle stuff that you think is cute, and you realize a motherfucker
that
really
obsessiveness,
motherfucker real crazy. So it's like it's so interesting when you how like having these conversations about it, and like when you realize that we can't pick and choose, we can't say, oh, this is great, this you know, we can't pick and choose. We gotta respect all women, we gotta respect all people, even children. We gotta make sure everybody is safe so we won't justify like what's happening to these people, because people dying, even now, like sex trafficking. Like people minds are so fucked up, they snatching women and children in there every single day.
Y'all, I've been trying to get over this cough for a month. Give me a second. I need a cough drop.
Get that cough drop.
I was doing so well. And it's like I was about to die.
This is a great conversation.
It is. I'm going to have so many little pieces to pull from.
But you know, this is a good conversation, man. I just be really thinking like, yo, people really don't understand that like y'all be perpetuating this. I remember my nephew. I took my nephew to the beach. He like, and this girl was thick as hell.
Thick as grits.
Thick as hell. He like, Uncle, why she got that on? And like, bro, why you got yours on? It's a bathing suit.
It's a swimsuit.
It's a swimsuit. She actually, no, she not. She ain't thinking about you.
And it starts with educating them.
The younger people.
When they're young, to understand all of these different nuances. And I think that's, like I've been seeing how, I don't know much about this Andrew Tate person.
Who's that?
He was arrested in Russia for like sex
trafficking,
trafficking, but apparently
girl.
he puts out a lot of like misogynistic and harmful content about women, and apparently young people be watching it and like be talking about it and believing this stuff.
But that's the world we live in.
And I'm like,
but look at the video. Look at people's stories. I kid you not. Look at people's stories and look at the videos that they share. The videos that they share is also rooted in hate. And people justify, this is my preference. This is the way I see life. This is my thought. This is my religion. This is my... Yeah. It'd be rooted in hate. When you actually see the video, I'd be like, I'll go past it, but it'd be rooted in hate. Yeah. It'd be, women have to realize that...
And that's why sometimes, and this is no shade, sometimes people... They so used to me talking about stuff, they'll see something on a blog or whatever, and they'll tag me in there and be like, what you think? Or you should talk about this. I'm not talking about that shit. I don't have no thoughts. I think the same thing you think. If the shit sound wrong, stupid. It's probably wrong. And it's probably stupid. Like, I don't have nothing to add to this.
But look at the comments, and the common people think that, yeah, he preaching, or she's saying the truth. And it usually is always is rooted in the shit that we're trying to dismantle, and that's what people. It's so much shit that's out there that's like rooted in the shit the way the world is that people like that shit. Yeah. When you see video, people go viral by saying, "Give him some coochie." Listen to what he say. Cook a meal. Come home. Do your hair. Be a better bitch. And you like what? If people would share that shit times a million. But let a woman say, actually, I met my husband. We met before. He made me soften up for him. He made me do this. They'd be like, that shit ain't real, dog. She like, but they want
the healthy shit. No, they want the toxic shit. They want the toxic shit. And you start to see that when you are somebody who creates and puts out content. Like, it's been like that forever. If I upload a video about sex in the title, oh baby, people gonna flock to it. But if my mental health videos are probably the videos with the least views, right? Like, y'all don't want to talk about healthy shit for real. Like,
they don't.
Y'all like to feed into it.
They fake killing.
Definitely fake killing.
They fake killing.
And I have to tell, so it's this guy, his name is his name is Aaron Mallory, but he goes by Mr. Let Go on Instagram. Tonight's conversation features him a lot because he's problematic, right? And
wait, I know a couple Aaron Mallory, so you...
Is that? I might make that might be somebody.
Is he a therapist?
No. This is somebody else. You wouldn't. This man live in Atlanta. He older with his bald head.
You like toxic though,
Huh?
You like not that you like toxic. You like teaching them that they're toxic.
Oh yeah.
But to them it's problematic because like, who are you? Like why you? I bet you ain't got a man. I bet you this. I bet you so horrible to man. Like, and what I'm saying is like. Sometimes you ain't gotta do it.
No, and sometimes I just be letting niggas be.
You do, but I think to them they think you become that they net. Like damn, what we do to her? She must be miserable.
Oh, I don't give a fuck. But no, I mean that's why sometimes I pick and choose what I talk about, especially about or what conversations I entertain. When it comes to like Nick Cannon, Kanye West, like it's a lot I could say. I'm not going back and forth with you niggas about that. I'm just not doing it. So, and Mr. Lego, his platform is dedicated to basically talking about how women need to not be single mothers.
Can I see his Instagram? His videos go viral. It's a few people that videos go viral. I'll be like, why?
I don't know if you see them. But anyway, so why are you even having this on the phone? So yeah, he talks about basically how like women make bad choices. Women pick the pookies in the right race to have kids with, and then they want to like settle down, and they want to marry. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like, that's what they
partially.
Right. So there's different subgroups. I feel like in all of this, right? You do have women, or now we have this narrative of like women having kids to be on welfare and shit like that. And it's just like, for me, what type of women are you around? Because like, don't nobody I know have a kid to be on government assistance like that. I want to know where, and that's not to say that there aren't women out there that do that, but they're not the majority. And so I'm a bit confused, but I had to tell him it's almost like, so we have him on one side, and then you have Ace Metaphor, who is over tonight's conversation. A lot of men feel like Ace panders to women. A part of it, I feel like, is truth, and a part of it is strategy, right? Because black women in particular, are the biggest like consumers of shit. Like, when it comes to this man, exactly. When it comes to this man going on tour, selling stuff, black women are buying. So yes, if you're gonna sell or pander to somebody, you're gonna pander towards the money.
But if you also pushing them up and upholding women, that can gravitate towards you because they like, yo, this is a man.
To empower you to make better choices. Yeah. And one thing, last time I went to go film with them, I had to explain to Mr. Let Go, it's like, you almost are like, you almost do what Ace does, where you want better for women. You want them to make better choices, but you're doing this in a degrading and toxic way. And again, he coaches women. So there are women that go to him to be coached.
There's some people like that shit.
And I think it's crazy, but it's one thing to see somebody in their content and then to meet them in real life. So once I met him in real life, I was like, oh, you're not that bad. Like, you got a little sense to you. Honest. Okay. You know, I get where you're trying to go and take things. Like, he speaks, you know, they don't have fathers and they need to, you know, some things like that. And it comes off nasty. But I brought him up to say that with platforms like that, I told him, I said, you attract the most bottom of the barrel, misogynistic, women-hating men in the crevices of Instagram. They flock to that.
They see that to be true.
They feel like.
But you see, if you see that, the thing is, if you see, like, you gotta realize too, like you just said, I don't know anyone. Like, now, I don't really know, bro, black women. I don't. Like, no cap. Like, just like. Black women I know, they all 6 figures or more. I'm 31. Most of the women in my inner circle, I borrow money from their ass. You know what I mean? Like, they really are some heavy hitter women. And some of them are mothers, and some of them are single mothers because of relationships that didn't work out. So it's like, it sort of makes me think of like TV and music and pop culture. Mm-hmm. Some of that shit I just don't relate to. Yeah. It's not like, and it's like content too. Like, some things is like, I'm so far removed from that. That I'm like, oh, but this actually does.
Like, this whole other side, I'm like, I just, sometimes I look at stuff like that and I go in the comments just to see like the crazy shit that people use. And I like, again, I think he just put up a video while I was looking in the comments about how like, the reason why women, they try to refute that black women are the most educated. They say black women are actually the most enrolled. The Asian women are the most educated, right? So they try to refute that, but they're also saying that women we try to use our education as an excuse, and this is why we not get married, right? Like, we got 5 degrees, but we can't get, like, again, making it seem like marriage and being somebody's wife is like the end all, be all, and it's just, and there's no room in the conversation for that not to be true the case.
Yeah. But they do it. But you got to realize too, like, people do that to all women in all cultures and everywhere, because we live in a world that is at least in our country is rooted in, you know, it's a male dominated, male controlled world in the way you think but women do it to men too. Yeah. You 34? You ain't got no kids? Like, what's wrong with you? They gonna think you gay because you ain't got no kids. What's wrong with you? Like,
and that's crazy, because I'm looking for the 34 to 40-year-olds that don't have no damn kids.
But the thing is, they out there. But what I'm saying is, like, women, like, I think that we it's so crazy how we try to talk about diversity within black culture, but we use very small sample sizes place that on other people. Like
Yeah.
I just said, I grew up. I know people with I know baby mamas and baby daddies. I do. You know, I know common folk, but also but I know so many more people who are not just the common, those common stories that then we don't relate to that shit.
Yeah.
But a lot of people kind of do, and it makes me think about like how some people, like a lot of my friends, you know, I live in different places, and they come from like affluent families, but they still love that ghetto ratchet, like, and I don't want to say ghetto ratchet, but they still love that like that toxicity of like pop culture. And you be like, yo, you got 2-parent household, like how is this?
That's why people was outraged when Jada said that she don't want to date no nigga that don't have no gun. Like she want a nigga with a gun. They like, you from the suburbs, like 2-parent household, and she like, I love that shit.
But the thing is, some people do, and the thing is, it's like there are black people who fetish black people.
Yeah,
like we don't talk about that. Like I'm from the hood. I was never obsessive about like this shit that fucks us up. But some people are so far removed from it, so they're like, oh, Brittany, let's go in the hundreds and let's play around. And
let's take a picture in front of on 63rd.
But they love that. So those are the stories. I think, and it's so interesting, we don't mention those people. Because people that really got it out the mud, we get out the mud. There you go. We get up. We work hard. We really get out here and do it. It's just interesting. Yeah.
So, last question.
Go ahead.
What do you feel like in your work, especially with, because you said most of your clients are black men?
89%.
I love that. Yeah. Beautiful. So,
you know who need to go to therapy?
Who?
Black women.
Black women going to therapy. Do I need to fight you?
Black women.
We might have to fight.
Black women need to go to quality therapy.
Black women are going to therapy.
No, that don't mean they got quality therapists. Because and this is my small sample size. Because my clients are married, and some of their wives are horrible with accountability. They don't show. They go to therapy, but their therapists are like perpetuating a lot of things. And I'm like, yo, I wish I had this. I wish I had your wife as my client. And I'll be thinking like this narrative that black men don't go to therapy. This is about to sound very stereotypical. Very stereotypical. Pookies and Ray Rays don't go to therapy.
Oh, okay.
Sean's, John, James, and
we get more of them in there.
I know that too, but I'm talking about access. So right, most of my clients they got medical insurance. Most of my clients are career oriented or have jobs. So, excuse me, black men do go to therapy. It's just the fact that we don't see the Ray Rays and like the hyper masculine images of black men. Those particular men going to therapy. Like Kendrick just said it, you know what I mean? That Kendrick said it on his last album. Jay-Z went to therapy for the Fofo album. He said a lot of it in the music, but they're not having conversations. And so it's a disconnect of seeing like common black men go to therapy, but they do. Okay. They really do. What I'm learning is that their female counterparts are very challenging to live with through all the things that we're discussing. Misogyny, political patriarchy, gender roles. Let's talk about finances. A lot of the men that I see in my line of work, in my experiences, are breadwinners. They're good fathers. Some of my clients are single fathers. Okay. They're single fathers because the women have dipped. You know what I mean? And of course, these are very anecdotal experiences. Right. There are way more women who are single mothers than there are single fathers. I'm just saying that it's interesting that in this moment I spoke about how men could impact women, but in my line of work, I'm seeing how women are impacting their lives in a very negative. And I think you
have access to, I don't want to call it an anomaly.
Absolutely.
A group of people, but that's basically what it is, right? It's almost like for every, if I have 10 couples that I've worked with in the last 2 years, out of those 5 couples who are dealing with infidelity issues, 4 of those couples, the men are going to be the cheaters. 1 of those couples, the woman is going to be the cheater, right? Like, so when we talk about likelihood, you know what I mean? So like, it took me getting those 10 couples, taking those 5 out, and then looking at the numbers to say, okay, now we see most men are the ones doing the cheating.
And guess what? And I could speak to why they cheat. You know why they cheating?
They miserable.
No, it's not that they miserable. They miserable, and then their wives. You got to realize too, and I can't speak for everyone. There are many women placating to get a ring, and they satisfied with that ultimate goal. They don't want to change. The husband's in therapy. The husband's like I promise you, the husbands work out. My clients are lawyers and real estate agents. They out here getting it, and guess who bring them to their knees? Their wives. And I say that because like I'm gonna make space, and I'm not saying this is the ultimate reason why. Of course, some men are sex addicts. Some men have infidelity issues. They got issues with their mom. So there's a plethora of reasons that men can cheat. But what's interesting, what I'm learning, that a lot of men are cheating because their happy wife, happy life concept is destroying them. They have no space in their marriage. They are fathers, husbands. They take care of all the things. They take care of everything. It's not about entitlement. Some of their wives are horrible people. Treat them horribly. And the thing is, we don't have a platform for men to say, "Oh, my wife spent $15,000 last month. My wife, she doesn't do anything with the kids. My wife doesn't do this." They're not saying this because they'll look like a pussy. So they come into therapy and they saying like, "Yo," and then we don't talk about men filing for divorce. There is no space for men to file for divorce.
And because I want to get into that because I get tired of this narrative that, like, I feel like a lot of people, or I would say, a lot of men will try to say like that marriages aren't lasting because women are filing for divorce. And I have to bring it to the fact, I've made posts about the fact that like a lot of these women that are filing for divorce, like these niggas don't want to go to therapy. They don't want to change. They don't want to take accountability. They don't want to be better people, better human beings. They don't want to be a better partner. So women now have the option to leave.
But it's literally the same thing on a different. It's the same thing that's happening to my male clients. But the only difference is they can't file for divorce. You know why? That's some bitch shit.
Is that really how they
Yes.
feel?
Oh my God. Yes.
Because my thing is like, if you're not happy,
it's not about being happy. It's also about the fact that
is it perception of
manhood. Can you file for divorce? You got 2 kids, 3 kids by somebody. You're the breadwinner. Can you really honestly leave? Because we always think about women like it's in movies. It's perpetuated all the time that Brittany hasn't worked in 10 years. She's been a stay-at-home mom. She can't leave. Imagine you being the breadwinner and the stay-at-home person is horrible to you.
But okay, so the only reason I would slightly challenge that is again, who's putting these shackles on you though? Like, are these rules you've created
in
for
your mind?
yourself?
Absolutely,
right.
Absolutely. But what I'm saying is the same thing. What I'm saying is it's truly the same thing for women that stay in marriages too. Like literally, there are men. I say it too. I tell my clients all the time. I have female clients that survive in their marriages too. Literally surviving. I have many clients that are surviving their marriages. But what is interesting that I'm learning I wish I could. I think I'll plan to study this a little bit more. But there are much more reasons that are much more complicated of why infidelity issues is a thing. Like, from many parts. And it's not just mama issues. It's not just he's a sex addict, he's a liar. Some men are literally pushed to the end and then they seek it out of their marriages. I have a client, I have clients that have been married 12, 13, 14 years. Their wives are not good people. Due to a plethora of circumstances, trauma, any type of things. I'm not trying to point the finger, but I'm saying that they're very complicated people. They don't want to go to therapy. They don't want to go to couples therapy. They don't want to change. They don't want to go. They don't want to go to the gym. They don't want to. They don't want to do.
And
anything.
that's why I again the outliers of the situation.
They very much
where
outliers.
You're getting a bunch of like circumstances that you don't hear much about and you don't see much about, right?
Right,
like,
but we don't because we live in a world that's also still. We don't make space for men's mental health.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like now it's like women's health for women. And that's I love it. I'm glad that it exists, but we don't have spaces for men.
But I also think that like women are trailblazing that.
They are.
And there's just more men that need to create that space for that.
For more men.
To happen.
Absolutely. But I think that I also think that it's complicated because it's all these implicit rules, right? So some men do feel safer for women. Like now, there are so many. I know some of my colleagues. All their caseloads are men because they feel safe enough to say this to a woman. You know what I mean? And it just like my female clients have been remember what we talked about last week? They're like, I want to get a male perspective, and like, so it's so complex that I haven't even said all the reasons why it's as complex as it is. But I'm really learning that. I'm like, oh damn. I literally had to say, like, you're gonna end up cheating or leaving. Their partners are very rigid on both sides, which causes the end or dissolving of a marriage. Most marriages end in divorce that have not been to couples therapy. Most.
And I'll add on top of that, because I plan on doing a video about like why most marriages fail, and a part of that is the lack of individual work on both sides. Like you not doing your own stuff, they're not doing their own stuff, and then y'all trying to get together and figure it out. Like,
before we go, I want you to. I found out a new concept, right? And I call it do life. So the other day, I had some sessions with a client, and I'm learning that they love each other, but they do life differently. And so I think a lot of marriages are failing because they do life differently. If you wake up, and people be like, well, that doesn't matter, but this is real shit. If you optimistic, you want to be out in nature, you like looking at the trees, you want to look at the sunrise, you want to travel, you want to do all these things, and you marry a homebody, you marry a person
complete different values.
Opposite,
your
complete
value
system, and like they're not good with their money. You gotta belling things out. Marriages end because people do life differently, but they love each other, right? So they think that they can live
off of that love, that the marriage is going to succeed off of that love, and it's not enough to carry you.
Like, what, you got $10,000 in parking tickets, I just fixed your car, I just did this, I did this. Like, that starts to exhaust you.
No, absolutely.
Because life be life.
Because now I'm trying to pick up on the other ends of the things that I believe are important, but you believe other shit is important. And like, now... I think that's the reason why a lot of people are single, too. You'll meet people... You like, oh, I go to bed at 10:30. I got to get up at 5 a.m. I do my morning meditation. And it's not even just about healing. The way you do life disrupts somebody else's way they do life. And if you don't realize that, you'll be like, oh, I love this person. But I don't like the way we don't do life together. Right,
we don't,
exactly.
But the thing is, people try to love each other through that. And then it doesn't work. It doesn't work that way because it causes more issues. It causes, people really will love somebody that has, and I'm using this as an example, like so much debt, right? And they be like, and then the debt starts seeping into their marriage for years and years. Their money habits. And then you're like, oh shit. Or the fact that the person never want to go to therapy. The person never wants to work out or travel or do things, explore the world. There's a video of Jennifer Lewis saying she was with this man. And she was like, Twitter. She driving and she talked to, she's like, we driving and I'm looking, I saw this beautiful tree. And it had red leaves and green leaves. And she was like, babe, look at the tree. And he said, he looked over her and said, you always looking at her. And she was like, that's when I knew I was done. And I'm saying they do life differently. And if you do life differently than the way your partner is, you can't. That ain't no amount of love that's going to keep you together.
No, it's going to say that.
Yeah, it's not.
And I see that a lot of the times with the couples that I work with, especially ones that been together since they were young and kind of grown. And it's like,
because we idealized that. We've been together since we were 17.
And you thought
high school sweethearts.
That all of this compatibility.
Somebody growing and somebody not.
It's not, exactly. And y'all thought that was going to carry y'all, and it doesn't. And then you reach your point.
Kids don't keep people together.
They don't.
People don't. I tell clients all the time, I'd rather see two healthy co-parents than to see people in a loveless family.
Trying to force it. I'm going to tell y'all, look, I'm pro-divorce. If that means being miserable and affecting some fucking kids. I'm
pro utilize all your resources before divorce. So I'm like go to couples therapy. I believe in living separate for like a year or two. I think a legal separation. I think a legal separation is decent. And then I believe... really trying to figure it out. I believe all the...
Absolutely, you want to hit all the steps. But at the root of it, I always tell folks it takes openness and willingness to get over some of them challenges or to make it work or to accept the differences that will exist.
Small plug. Black men do go to therapy. We just don't talk about it. We don't... There ain't spaces for us to be on our Instagram and say, I've been in therapy for 7 years. There are people out here. Now, these podcast niggas ain't in therapy. Some of them in, some of them not. But it's a lot of men. I had a couple of consultations today. All of them been to therapy.
Yeah.
So black men do go to therapy. We just don't talk about it.
But they need to. And I think, like, I tell people all the time when they ask how do we push mental health forward, how do we push therapy forward, is by talking to other people about it, like men or women, like whatever it is, that you identify. You need to talk about it, because then even with your kids, right? Like, I've had to tell clients, like, you need to talk about this with your kids so that they know it's okay. Yeah. Like, that is how
crazy.
That's how we normalize this entire thing, and it's not seen.
You're not crazy.
It's not seen like something that is so taboo. So, like, to continue get people in conversation about it, because that helps to shift the narrative forward.
This was a great conversation.
It was.
Black people go to therapy. It saves your life. It saves your life. It changes your life. So. Go to therapy. I'm gonna take new clients. Brittany, you taking new client?
Not really.
She taking new client.
I got about 3 openings.
I probably got like 15 openings.
We finna fill you up. I send people to you all the time.
Yeah. They don't they get I get the consultations. You just got them
following through. Okay. Well, hope you guys enjoy. We'll see you later. We'll have Bryan back. Talk about some more stuff.